All right. This is another episode of the Express Lane Podcast with
Kev and Stan. What's going on? We got a special guest, Joel, SoulJoels from SoulJoels Comedy Club and Lounge.
Thanks for having me.
No problem. Thanks for coming on. Stan texted me last week. He was like, "Oh, we got Joel." I was like, Joel? And he goes, SoulJoels. And I was like, oh, shit. Like, yeah, fuck, let's go.
Awesome.
It was cool because, you put out a little video. Like, I've been following you for a while. Like, missed all your great shows during the pandemic. He went to Skanks, which was good, but not the one that he got pulled down from.
No, I went to the Legion of Skanks, the podcast show, not Big J and Lewis doing the comedy set.
That's a legendary show, though. It's like 98 people were there. But
you want to pull the mic closer a little bit?
It's going to be one of those things where so many people are going to say that they were there.
Yeah, I'm sure. And I've seen the video and I've heard him talk about it. And I'd love to be like, yo, I was there when he got ripped down. But I wasn't. I can't. There's no lying there.
Yeah. But yeah, I started comedy in New York, and I started with a lot of these guys. So I knew them a lot before, they're what they are now.
Very cool. So you put out a post saying put signs in your yard, which is funny because we've had a couple podcasts where we talk about how people are dumb when they put signs in the yard, mostly political signs. So I was like, oh, yo, I didn't see that many people responding. I was like, shit, I could probably get one of these. Put it in there, and I threw in a little, hey, come for a beer maybe, entice you, and also we have this thing. And then you actually hit me back, and I was like, oh, shit.
Yeah, I just, I was trying to keep my head above water, man, and it's just been busy. But now things are evening out. But those signs were a gift and a curse.
Really?
Yeah, because I did the Summerfest, which I created the first year in 2020 after the pandemic, and I said we're going to do 16 days in a row, one day for every week that we lost during the shutdown. And now it's last year was the third year, and there was people that we brought the dome back. We took over the historic Sunnybrook Ballroom, but there was people that even come to our shows that thought that's all we were doing.
Huh.
And I'm like, how am I got to make money the other 11 months of the year.
Yeah.
Like they thought Brewer was going to be it, and then I wasn't going to do any shows after that. Summerfest was it. So, and it's because that's the only dates that were on the sign.
Yeah. Got the sign right there.
Nice.
So, yeah, that worked out great for us. We appreciate you coming. Pretty impressed by that. So, we're like, all right, cool. So, it can work out,
Yeah. I live literally 7 minutes away.
All right, cool.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, that works out great.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was. I think the first time I'd even heard of the SoulJoels Comedy Club was Stan and I had just gone to a Miss Pat show down at Punchline Philly, and we're like, oh, who else would we like to go see? Just like what other comics? And I think it was, I forget who it was. Maybe Mark Normand. I think we were talking about, and you were like, oh, dude, he was just last weekend at SoulJoels in Royersford, and like I've worked up through Royersford. I was like, where the fuck's a comedy club in Royersford?
Yeah.
And then the next time I was up there, I drove through, saw the big dome. I was like, oh, there it is, found it.
But we didn't have our name on the side of the dome. People thought we were a vaccination clinic.
Well, all right.
Yeah, and I'm like, dude, I was like, that is the opposite of what we are. I was like,
Yeah.
I need to get a sign on that thing. I'm like, Joe List and Mark Normand, buddies of mine that I've known for years, and after the comedy festival, I asked if they wanted to split every other month. So Joe would come with a lineup of comics, and Mark would come with a lineup of comics, and we did that for 2 straight years. And then they kicked off last year. The comedy festival, they did it live Tuesdays with Stories.
Yeah, I was there.
Stan was there.
And they brought Ari.
Yeah, it was great.
Yeah.
It was even the Indian guy. He was hilarious.
Yeah.
From Lancaster.
Yeah.
He
Raj
was really
Balani.
funny. Yes.
Who brought his mom, and his mom was not happy.
Oh, no.
Yeah, they literally, and he wasn't joking, like they ran into him at the rest area on the New Jersey Turnpike.
Really?
Or maybe it was Pennsylvania Turnpike, whatever, and they ended up going, and he was there, but they went off a tangent because they didn't know what they were going to talk about, and you could tell his mom being like very conservative from India.
Yeah.
She was not happy.
Yeah. No, he did. I was because when the opening act comes, you're like, all right, hurry up and get out of here. But he actually did a really great job.
Yeah.
Well,
and then of course we love Ari and Joe List, and he listens to a lot more than I do. But it was great. It was just them riffing the whole time, and then the guy next to me, they call him out. They're like, any gay people here? Because he's always saying. And the guy right next to me, and the wife's like, you? I'm like, no, the guy next to me.
Hilarious.
Yeah, it was great. Guy was cool with it. It was a really good show.
Yeah.
That's funny. And like the live Skanks episode, they had the showcase of all the comics before everybody that was on. So it was fun to see people you hadn't heard of, and it made me, it was like Aaron Berg was there. I was like,
Okay, I was gonna say we did it twice, so I wasn't sure which one.
Yeah.
Yep.
And that one was like Aaron Berg and then Ryan Shaner, who was from Royersford, and these people that I had never heard of, and then I see 15, 20 minutes of comedy from. I was like, oh shit, like new follow, new like check out where they're gonna be, because you just don't know who people are. Fucking funny, and you don't realize it until you see them.
Yeah, and that's basically what I've been doing. I was before the podcast. I was kind of telling you a little bit, and he was like, "Save it for the pod, save it for the pod." But yeah, I'd been branding my SoulJoels for a while, where I just want people to know that if it's my show, it's going to be a good show. Like, you might not necessarily have heard of them, but you can come out to see a good show. Like, they're not like Seinfeld famous, but they've been on TV.
Well, that's the people who are funny right now. Like that whole batch, the Joe List and Mark Norman, Shane Gillis, like they're popping now. But before, like, you had them for 2 years, and I wanted to make it out there because I knew about them. But now everybody knows about them, so it's like going to be like a Burt show in Hershey right now, $150 a ticket soon. So it's ugh. But I could have seen them for 2 years for what, $20?
$20. Yeah.
Right down the street from me.
Right. Well, some of the guys are starting to come back, man. I just announced Ben Bailey.
Okay.
Yeah, and he Cash Cab.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, that guy?
Yeah.
Oh, all right.
Yeah,
I like that show. Oh, you love that show.
Cash Cab was great. Every time I was in New York, it was like, don't get that one. That's like a small car. We need the van.
Yeah.
And then we never found the Cash Cab.
But yeah, he was the week before we shut down and left Royersford, because they're developing townhouses there, and just like anything else, he's asking me questions, who was there, who's coming up, and our last show was Gilbert Gottfried, and rest in peace. We booked it not knowing he was going to be our last show, not knowing he was going to pass away, obviously not too far after that, but Ben Bailey had a really funny Gilbert Gottfried story. He said they did a celebrity episode. It was they were driving around Manhattan for 6 hours, and finally Ben said he was like tears rolling down his face, laughing so hard. But he goes, "Listen, Gilbert, you got to stop cursing." He goes, "None of this is gonna make it to TV." And he's like, "You think I give a flying?"
I was gonna say that would only make him do it more.
Right into it.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was just doing it because he was friends with Ben. He doesn't care about making it on TV.
He seemed like it's a shame, like you
He's
said.
got all that Aladdin money.
Yeah.
It's like all of the great guys just died. Like all three of them.
Norm Macdonald.
Yes.
Yeah.
Bob Saget.
And
then Gilbert Gottfried. Like, damn.
Yeah.
Those guys were the funniest.
Yeah. Louis Anderson.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I forgot about that one. It's a shame. Go ahead, Kev. You look like you want to say something. I was waiting for you.
I was just gonna hop in with. All those guys are great. Like Norm, I'll still fall down the rabbit hole of Norm YouTube stuff I've seen 5 times. Like, we can watch.
His show was so
again.
good.
Yeah,
I tried to turn people on to it, but that comedy's not for everybody. Like, actually, it's only for a little bit of people. I think it's fucking hilarious when he's sitting there interviewing his friends, and Judge Judy he had on one time, she's like 80 years old. She seems like she's still there.
Sharp as the tack.
Yeah, it was a good one. So what else? So you were in. Let's, I guess, go back to the beginning. I've got a bunch of questions, but in case we have a lull, but it doesn't sound like we are going to. Speaking of your branding, I saw you like right when you're doing Royersford. I'm down in Wildwood, maybe.
Oh yeah.
And I see the back of an SUV with the giant SoulJoels. I was like, oh shit, I think that's up near us, babe. So that was pretty cool. So yeah, definitely keep doing that.
Yeah. I drive around and if I get stuck in traffic,
people honk at you and stuff.
Yeah. So it's cool, man. Actually, funny. I was going to last summer. I have shows in Wildwood, and then I do shows for like 7 years. I've been doing shows in Stone Harbor. So I was going to a show in Stone Harbor, and I'm taking the back roads like 47 and 55 to get down there. Not taking the Garden State Parkway, Atlantic City Expressway, and all of a sudden there's these cars that are merging, and the guy gives me a thumbs up. It's Al Roker.
Oh shit!
Damn.
And I was like, hell yeah. I'm like, Al Roker,
Skinny Al Roker, huh?
giving me a thumbs up because, he probably heard of me, so a fan. And then I realized we were merging.
Oh, so you're just
He was
saying,
giving me a thumbs up, like I'm going first. I'm like, that makes
no
more
clue
sense.
who you are.
That makes more. Yeah, got it, Al. Thank you so
Play
much.
it the first story. That's
Yeah.
way better. Fucking Al Roker following me.
Yeah, got a good post out of it though. It was hilarious.
That's fun.
Yeah.
How'd you start doing? So like the whole thing is, I guess your origin story of like how did this come to be?
So I went to college in New York, in Staten Island, and I went to college, stayed up there. I was in pharmaceutical sales, and I went back to get my MBA, my master's in business, and I tried stand-up comedy for the first time, my first open mic. And it was in the back of Sal Volcano from Impractical Jokers before they got it on TV. And he had this place, and I did in the back of his place, and just knew a lot of the guys that were trying to make it, and just started doing comedy. And after a year, when you first start out, you do these bringer shows where like you got to bring 5, 10, 15 people in order to get stage time. And after a year of doing it, there was this DJ in New Jersey, right over the bridge from where I was living in Staten Island, and he was a DJ and said that he canceled. There was 2 owners of this bar restaurant, and one of them didn't sign off on it. It was like a wishy-washy answer, and I had 30 people coming from like I connected with back in the day in MySpace and Facebook, and I didn't have any of their numbers. They were just coming. So I panicked, like, I got to get in touch with these people real quick. It wasn't my fault. I felt totally responsible. So I'm like, I'm just going to start. I've always been the friend who like organized reunions for high school or bachelor parties. So I just started organizing my own shows. And a year later, I ended up starting SoulJoel Productions.
Okay.
Yeah. Now I've done shows in 26 different states.
That's cool. So you're
That's
just like,
awesome.
hey, I'm a personable person, so I'm going to use that. It's like the guy at the nightclub that brings all the hot chicks. Like, hey, I can bring the chicks. Pay me to bring the chicks.
Yeah. Well, and that's what like I started. I was managing Giannis Pappas, and he was like on one of the long trips that we had. He's like, you have the ability to be a good comedian. Like 20 minutes could be a good feature opening act. He's like, but you have the ability to be the best that ever lived in producing comedy shows. He goes, that's your gift. Why don't you focus on that? And it's like, oh man, that was kind of passive aggressive. A little unsolicited advice.
Backhand compliment, totally.
That blood still,
Man, there's another one that's like, I watch his clips all the time. He's popping, him and Chrissy.
Oh yeah, Chrissy D.
It's freaking just hilarious guys.
Yeah.
That like just seemingly came at. I'm sure they put in the years of work. I just didn't know about it, but
Yeah.
they're just blowing up.
Yeah. Well, Giannis has been doing so. He moved down to Florida, and he had his own show on TV for like 3 years. Moved back, and Chrissy was on Guy Code, and then
They're just so fast, like
so
quick.
fast. Yep. Yeah.
All right, so you're bringing people and you're putting on all these shows, and then you start your production company.
Yeah.
Then what? Like how do you decide where you're going to do it?
I would
And
just
make a home base, basically.
Well, I started like and Giannis joked about this, that I was starting like the SoulJoel family tour. I would set up shows where I had friends and family, and I was originally born outside of Pittsburgh, so I started doing shows out there, and South Jersey, where I grew up. I was doing shows in New York, and I just kept doing it. Then I started doing shows at the Jeffersonville Golf Course.
Mm-hmm.
They were either from people that I went to college with or high school. And I was doing shows there for a year. And with Al Zone, do you know Al Zone? He has the Elmwood Park Zoo. So I was doing, he was at the Jeffersonville Golf Course. I did it for a year. And then I was at PJ Ryan's in Phoenixville for like 6 months. And then I moved over to the Valley Forge Casino. And I was there for 7 years. And then I knew the old owners, and the new owners were the people that built Boyd. They built the Brigada, Boyd Entertainment.
Okay.
So they have like 30 casinos across the country, and I knew it was going to be in with the new, out with the old.
Yeah.
And it took about
That's a clean house situation.
Yeah,
Right?
Bringing
So-
their people.
I saw the writing on the wall, and they didn't fire me, but they asked me to move from Fridays to Thursdays, and replace me with dueling pianos.
Yeah.
And that was a kick to the, and Upstairs was karaoke. Downstairs was dueling piano. So it was pretty much karaoke on 2 floors.
Yeah.
Because that's all dueling. Dueling pianos is nothing but, I can't sing this. Why don't you sing it for me? And
Yeah.
I'll just sit here with my girl.
I've never been, but I've heard about
Yeah.
it.
So, yeah, whatever. It was just so the next day, the borough of Royersford recruited me to open up my own spot. So it took a while, but, really not that long. But figured out the spot, and we opened up November.
Well, how's that work?
What's that?
Like the borough of Norris or Royersford.
Yeah, so they want, because towns come back through entertainment. So, and that's what I did over the pandemic was I basically, I brought 55,000 people from 27 different states. And when they're coming there, because we were BYOB, bring your own food, they would, visit the local restaurants and, before or after the show. And it just stimulates the economy and helping out all the other local businesses. But we're trying to figure out where to go. I ended up going down by the river, and we opened up November 1st, 2019. It was 150 seats. At the time, it was like, that's big, but it's kind of small at the same time. So we were selling out no matter who we had, and we quickly grew from 1 day a week to being open 5 days a week in 4 months. 2 weeks later, the pandemic happens.
Yeah.
And I'm like, come on, man. So then in July, we decided to go outside. I mean, I left pharmaceutical sales to do this full time. I'm not going to let
in
that
pharmaceutical
be me.
sales. So they're
Yeah.
booming.
Yeah.
Got out right at the wrong time, I guess.
Yeah. Exactly. I think this year was 2009, so it'll be 13 years. Oh, no, 14 years. I forget it's 2023.
Yeah, man.
So we started going shows outside. I started the Summerfest, and then we just got some of that. And Norman was the first guy who told my sister, he goes, I don't know what's going on here, but something special is going to happen and something good's going to become of it. You just feel it. And it was like magic, keeping comedy alive during the pandemic, which was twofold. One, it kept the comics. It was looking forward to what they want to do. Like, they got into comedy to make people laugh for a living, but when you're not doing it, you go down a rabbit hole, and you forget what your purpose is.
Seems like they all get sad.
It gets sad, exactly. But that coming to Royersford and make people laugh, they were like, oh my gosh, this is what it's all about, and also the audience. The audience, it gave them something to look forward to.
So how quickly, you were shut down for 16 weeks? Is how long? Was that because you weren't allowed to start up outside, or was it 16 weeks to get the tent and everything together to get to going outside?
So, I mean, that's a great question. It was 16 weeks from when we shut down inside to when we started doing shows outside. Yeah, and just you just weren't allowed to gather in public.
Yeah.
And so that's wait, what was the other question? The tent.
Yeah.
So it all happened in kind of like spurts. So nothing was planned. We were just trying to survive, plan, a couple of weeks in advance. We weren't ever long-term planning. So we did shows outside. We took a 40-foot tractor trailer. That was our stage. We turned it into a black box. And then we just kept doing shows. And at that time, they were like, oh, the numbers are going to spike again as flu season, whatever, And we're like, we're not going back inside because it was like 30% occupancy. So if we do shows inside with 140 people, you're at 30, 40 people maybe. I'm not going to be able to pay the bills, the comics, the rent. So we just stayed outside, and we ended up getting a tent for like a couple of weeks. But my sister, whose idea was for the sand as well, we dumped 200 tons of sand in the lot, and then her idea was the dome because it's open in the front, open in the back. It was COVID safe and friendly, and ended up being the best pandemic creation. One of them. I mean, at least for me, that's something that we always want to keep doing. But that's one thing. It's a gift and a curse as well. Just like Summerfest, people only think about, like, I saw a guy inside Sunnybrook, and he goes, "You running sound for this event?" And I was like, "Yeah, kinda." I go, "I took over all of Sunnybrook," and he goes, "What?" And he was like, "Oh, you're doing shows inside now?" Back in November, there was people sitting in the dome for 40 minutes.
Of like waiting for the show to start
Yeah.
when it's going to be inside.
We were indoors.
Oh man.
And I get 15 minutes, but what happened for that other 25?
Yeah.
And
How-
there were 6 of you. There was 3 couples.
How
What
late?
happened?
How late are these guys going to be?
Yeah. Where's Joel? Where's the other comedian? Where's the comedians? Where's the other audience members?
I guess they're not following you on social media because I mean that's kind of your theme on social media. Hey, we're here at the Sunnybrook Bowl.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why I keep saying inside.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you've made it very clear.
Yeah. It's
Keep
wild,
hammering
man.
it, I guess.
Yeah. But yeah, so getting back to Roars, we stayed outside for 16 months. So it was 2 summers, 2 falls, 2 winters, and then a spring, and then we left. It was just they were developing townhouses there, and there was not going to be anywhere for the dome.
How much did the dome cost?
So I
And
sold
where do you get a dome at?
So it's a place, Clearspan, and their address is Field of Dreams Way in Iowa.
Okay.
Yeah.
Baseball movie.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Stan
Hilarious.
nailed it.
So yeah, we got that. I had to end up selling the first one because we didn't know where we were going to end up permanently, if it's going to have room for the dome, if the township's going to say okay. So we ended up selling it. I sold it to like a company that builds venues for Live Nation, and so this the first one cost $65,000, and then the second one cost $75,000 because the price of steel went up.
How much does it like? I mean, to set that thing up, you got to have a whole crew and stuff.
Yeah, so they send you a crew. The first one
okay.
was a bunch of meth heads from Kentucky.
Well,
Yeah, it's supposed to take 4 days. It took them 18, and you thought if you're on meth, it would take quicker. but then it does.
and all your metal stolen.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, boy.
right. Hope there's no copper line around.
Yeah, and then the second time, it was 2 guys out of Lancaster.
Yeah,
And they
much better, right?
Man, they put it up in 3 days.
Yeah, you
It
ever
was
see them
amazing.
build a barn out there? Quick.
Yeah. These guys actually weren't Amish. They were just but you could tell, they're craftsmen.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're good. But yeah, so it took us a year, man. There was different towns that we met with, different properties, but everything that we've done now has led us to where we're at. And every property we got either outbid for. It was back on the market.
And it seemed like it was like probably the worst time to be looking for a spot.
Yeah,
Everything's jacked up.
everything's jacked up. Yeah, exactly. But we found the Sunnybrook Ballroom, which back in the day, like Sinatra played there, and Glenn Miller and all these guys. Louis Armstrong was like the place to play in like the big band era. But my brother-in-law is my sister's husband. He's the executive chef, so he came on board. He's running the kitchen, and he's been a chef longer than I've been in comedy. So he's been working in the kitchen for like 20 years. So it's gonna be great. So it's a whole family thing, and we started doing shows at the end of July. So it's been great.
That's
Now,
awesome.
when you say you took over the Sunnybrook Ballroom, are you eliminating? Do they like weddings or events space
So
like that anymore?
We inherited all their events and all their staff, and so there's events booked this year and some into next year. And it's a question that we get on social media too, because we call it SoulJoels at Sunnybrook, but people have like a couple of different memories of that place. Like they have their proms there or weddings, and we're still going to do all that. We're just adding comedy to the place.
Okay.
One thing I started back in September was country line dancing
Yeah, I saw that.
on Tuesday night, and it's the opposite of comedy, where I get 10% at the door, people that buy tickets in advance, and versus at the door. So if you get 100 people in advance, you'll get like 10 at the door. Country line dancing is the opposite. 10% buy in advance and 90% get them at the door.
Yeah.
So I was stressing like, dude, we're not going to have anybody. This is going to be a total bust. I can't believe I did this. And then everyone just showed
I was
up.
gonna say Pottstown
they-
is far enough up
but-
there. You still get country
Nah,
line
it
dancing.
doesn't
Yeah.
even need to be that far up there because the place I play hockey at near Montgomeryville, there's a bar next to it, is Country Western bar, that a Wednesday night I went in after a game. We were like, let's get a beer and some like mozzarella sticks or something. And it was country line dance night on Wednesday. I was like, holy shit, this place is packed. And the bartender was like, the DJ comes back on Fridays and it's wild. I was like, holy fuck.
Really?
Like, the guys, they had 2 nights a week doing country line dancing.
Yeah. And it's funny because I tell people all the time, get off dating apps. If you're single, come to country line dancing. It was 70 women, 10 men.
Yeah.
2 of the guys came over to me. One drove from Ben Salem one drove from Hamburg, so it was an hour each direction. They didn't come up to me like, oh my God, look at all these women. They're like, this dance floor is amazing. And it was because they're used to like a restaurant, like having like this little section and people can dance. But you know, at the Sunnybrook Ballroom, it's actually, and I didn't know this until I took over, it's the largest ballroom east of the Mississippi. So it's 11,000 square feet. And there you have plenty of room. So yeah, for the line dancing.
Well, I saw you're going to be doing dating, right? Is
Oh
something I saw?
yeah. Speed dating. I'm gonna
Speed dating.
yeah. Ding. Keep moving on.
It's
Everyone
anything
get
like
up and move.
the Shane Gillis skit. It'll be hilarious.
Yeah. No, that's the thing. So many people commented. They're like, "Can we just come and watch and drink?"
Yeah.
But it's hilarious. Yeah, we're just. I'm just trying to give. I keep saying this. A different reason for people to come down the
Do
driveway.
things all the time.
Yeah,
You've
and-
got the space.
Yeah, got the space. Might as well do it. We're doing salsa and bachata night once a month. Swing dancing once a month. The line dancing is the only one we're doing every week. Obviously, comedy. We had this guy Tyler Fisher last night, and we just put it on sale last week. He sold the place out. We had like 130 people last night in the small room.
Damn.
Yeah, so it was cool. And then the Friday after New Year's Eve,
Was he funny?
dude, hilarious. Yeah. He was
Nice.
really good. Yeah, yep. And yeah, it was a good show, man.
Well, you're not so bad yourself. Like I saw you at the Westover, I saw Aunt Mary Pat came with the wife.
Yeah.
And what's her cousin or
Cousin Cheyenne.
Cheyenne
It's like a train-
definitely hit on me at the bathroom.
Oh, okay.
And
Okay.
I had my shirt, my sweater on with the Epstein didn't kill himself. You gave me
Okay.
the thumbs up.
Yeah.
And and then, so
Rock
you went,
on.
Yeah, you went on and did what, like 10 minutes.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh shit! Like
Yeah.
not only can he's the owner of the whole thing,
yeah.
but you're actually pretty funny. Like,
Thanks,
you had
man.
a little
Well-
good. It's short and sweet. You hit him, and then
Yeah.
all right, here's the person you really want to see. It
Yeah,
was good.
Well, that's what I do, man. And I over through all that process, like it's like comedy comes from that pain, and I went through so much pain, and I kind of created all those jokes. Like one of my biggest jokes is I sold my house in New Jersey. And I moved directly into my sister's basement.
Yeah.
Single ladies, come and get it.
It was good.
Yeah. But and dude, that doesn't stop girls from like saying like, well, we'll deal with it. Like
Yeah.
before, it was like you have to have a job, you have to have your own place, you have to have a car.
You got a basement at your sister's? I'm
what's
in.
up? How does she feel about cats? And like literally, a lady was like, my daughter has 2 cats. Can she move in? Well, I'm like, no.
And it's a bunch of ladies at the Aunt Mary Pat show. So
Oh my god, yeah, it's hilarious. And but yeah, I so my niece and nephew are 13 and well actually she's 14 now. My nephew's 9. And like they get to the age where like they think what I do for a living is cool, but like their friends think it's cooler. Like they're like, whatever, Uncle Joel. And I got to overhear a conversation at the bus stop where I take him every morning. One of his classmates was like, "Oh my god, I can't believe your uncle is SoulJoel," because he saw the vehicle,
Yeah.
right? And it's all And she's like, "My parents love going to his shows on the weekends. They love laughing. You know your uncle's famous, right?" Swear to God, he goes, "No, he's not. He lives in our basement." Like, dude, you can't let me have that one.
Yo,
Yeah.
come on.
Yeah. But it's just, I mean, that's where the comedy comes from, man. It's it comes from the truth, and you exaggerate a little bit. Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
No, it was good, man. So now you're up there. Is anybody giving you any grief, or it's just all positive? Like it's just great. It's just
It's
all
all
working out.
positive. So it's that thing in Pennsylvania where it's the mailing address is Pottstown, but we're actually in Lower Pottsgrove. So people are like, "Oh, this is great for the Pottstown area." But Lower Pottsgrove has been great, man. I always look at things like there's a sign. I met with the town and they were like so excited that I'm going to bring life back into it and events. It's going to help all the the businesses, bring all these people in. The hotels, people stay overnight. It's great. There's an organ. It's like the oldest pipe organ, and it's 2 stories, man. It's like here, and then all of a sudden, like the second floor is all the other instruments and the pipes, and it's really cool. And it's not like, oh, I used to play piano. Like that's a specific instrument that you don't like. You don't know how to play unless you actually have learned on that. So, there's a guy walks in. He kind of looked like Uncle Phil from Fresh Prince. You know what I mean? And I've never seen him before. I'll probably never see him again. I was talking. My sisters and my mom are my real estate agents, and the owner who sold it to me. this guy walks in and was like, hey man, I just came from Delaware, just dropped some off in Pottstown. I haven't been here in 10 years. Do you still have that organ? It's a long shot. He's like, yeah. And he goes, does so-and-so from Reading still come down and play it? They used to have Mother's Day brunches and stuff. He's like, yeah. He's like, oh, do you mind if I take a walk? And my sister was like, all right, we'll see you later. And we start taking a walk. The owner comes running out in the parking lot. He goes, this guy's playing it. You got to come see it. And I hadn't seen anybody play it. You know, he just looked at it. It's like, it's really cool. Not only is he playing it, but he's playing from Beauty and the Beast. Be our guest, put our magic to the... Dude, I'm talking the back of the hair on my neck is standing up, right? And all I could think about through this whole time and trying to figure out where I was going to go after Royersford made it, you know, a national spotlight. And like now, at lowest to low, I had to sell the dome. Don't know where I'm going. I'm at Westover Golf Course just until I figure it out. And my grandfather and my grandmother, my dad's mom and my mom's dad were the two that like loved that I was doing this for a living. But my first grandmother died when I was 9. And this guy I told him, I go, dude, he even had the fat, flabby arms because my grandmother thought exercise was for horses. And I go, dude, you remind me of my grandmother, man. I didn't say that to him. But I said, she was a music teacher and then played the pipe organ in church every Sunday. The guy goes, that's what I do. I'm like, you kidding? Dude, I drove home. Right in the driveway, sitting right on the fence was 2 cardinals. Mm. I just look at stuff like that. I don't, you know, not to get too. Yeah.
It's cool though.
Yeah.
Yeah. I got you.
Yeah.
That's a nice little experience. So you're gonna constantly have people coming in that have been like been there years past. Because like Pottstown, it's got that nice little main street. Yeah. And then, but it's kind of like faded just with time. But I guess you're bringing it back.
Bringing it back. Yeah.
There's some really nice houses up there.
Yeah, there is.
And a methadone clinic, but whatever.
Oh, there's,
there's
some goings on around Pottstown.
Right. But you got JJ Radigan's, the brewery. You got a couple other like nice places that are not too far away. So we're all working together to try to bring the area back, and it's cool. And so at the end of January, this is my lineup. I got a girl that just like the comics. She over the pandemic, she created this studio in her house, and my place was the first time she had people in person work out with her. And then she all of a sudden went on the Today Show, just like a comic, and then she popped. She had 60,000 followers on YouTube. And I had her back in November. She brought people from New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Delaware, Maryland, Michigan, and then Canada. Dude, a couple drove from Canada. The lady from Michigan goes, I'm missing my anniversary with my husband right now. I'm like, are you kidding? So she did
working out is more important than her husband.
Right. I thought it was like some single white female.
That'll last.
Yeah. Like, is this going to be a problem? So she did like old school Richard Simmons. She did like a step aerobics. And now she's coming back. It's the last Saturday in January. We're going to have, she's doing cardio kickboxing at 9:30. Then at 1 o'clock, we have the drag brunch with Aunt Mary Pat, who's alternate characters, Miss Troy. So we do that once a month. At 4 o'clock, we got an all-ages kids show with a magician. So then 7 o'clock, we got Vic DiBitetto.
Okay.
And then CJ Santangelo and his band, the Hot Sauce Junkies, are going to play at 9.
Yes, they're all linked in with all these other people. Yeah.
Exactly. So
Very
it's like,
cool.
People are like, oh, I might not be a comedy fan or whatever. It's like, no matter what you're into.
Seems like you're doing a little bit of everything.
There's something going on. Check
yeah.
out SoulJoels at the Sunnybrook Ballroom.
Yeah, exactly, man. So it's going to be pretty cool, all the stuff that we're doing.
So that's another thing. Like, that's why thank you for coming, because, dude, you're busy as shit and you're busiest on the weekends. Yeah. I was like, dude, if we got to call off work to do it during the weekday, no problem.
Yeah. Well, but now, like, so I used to be there in the fall and in the summertime. I would have to go there because they had weddings or whatever. But now there's an event later tonight, but it doesn't start. Like, I don't have to be there right now. But I would have to be there in the morning. Like, just being the boss.
I mean, you're the guy. That's one of my questions I wrote down. I was like, how do you handle being a boss and telling people what to do?
So it's
come natural to you, or
and again, like I said before, it's like everything that's happened now has. I don't like being that like dick, you know what I mean? Like I'm hands off, and as long as you're doing your job, I'm not looking at like, oh, are you working 40 hours? I could tell if like your work done. But it's crazy. when you just watch people, like they'll tell you who they are, man, and you don't want people to take advantage, but you could tell it's like if people aren't working hard. And
Who's your guy with the Eagles jersey all the time?
Alan,
That guy seems like a character.
dude, he's a huge
And I'm just
character.
watching him on your
Yep,
stuff. So.
Yep. Yeah. So he's another guy. I met him the first night of Summerfest, and he was a huge Mark Norman and Joe List guy. And he would bring his mom and his sister. They drive all the way from Lancaster, an hour, and then he had a problem with his neck, and he can't work anymore because he's a musician, and comedy got him through, man. And he was like, so then he started working for me and helped me out at shows, but he's like the mayor of SoulJoels, man.
Yeah.
And he's been helping me out. He helped us out with New Year's, and he was just there last night. Yeah, he's been great, but Joe List has been great too, man. So we were at Valley Forge Casino, and he was a week after he made his Tonight Show debut, and a week before his special came out on Netflix. It's like when you're dealing with those kind of guys, they always got something cooking, but you don't know because it doesn't get announced. So sometimes they'll tape 6 months to a year, and then all of a sudden it'll come out or whatever. And the Tonight Show too. Sometimes they'll like record it a week in advance, and then it'll be on TV. But when we came up with the lineup, I came up with the comics, and then my sister put them in order. And she obviously spaced out Norman and List, so they'll be on different nights and far away from each other. So I didn't know that List was going to put out another special. And a couple weeks later, he's going on every Jim and Sam and Preston and Steve and Philly and all the, and they don't just want to talk about your special because they want to find out what else is going on. Well, all he was doing was talking about SoulJoels because that's the only show he did. And I'm getting my phone, my emails, everyone's blowing me up going, dude, Liz is talking about this show. Liz is talking about this. So I text them and I'm like, dude, I owe you like another gig. I owe you a Christmas present. And he goes, oh man, that sounds good. He goes, do you want to have Louis C.K. at your place? Dude, I had to look at my phone and be like, what? And that's how the shows came about, where Mark came 1 month, Joe came another month. But I was like, yeah, dude, yeah. So we called it. He goes, but Louis, just because all the trouble he got in before the pandemic, didn't want to do an outside venue because people were protesting.
Yeah, they're gonna fuck with him.
Yeah. So he was like, I don't need that in an outside venue. So as long as he's not announced, I'll come. I wasn't gonna believe it until he showed up.
Yeah.
I was like, dude, but I did tell some people, it's this hush hush kind of thing, right? And we had about 200 people there, but with his friends, Ari Shafir came. I had James Madden, who was living with me. He hosted all the shows, which was great because he's one of the best hosts in the country, let alone New York. And so I got to hear. So all of a sudden, the car pulls up, and Ari gets out the front. Joe List and his wife, Sarah Talamash, gets out the back. I'm like, son of a... I go, where? I go, he didn't come? He gets out the driver's side. I go, Louis drove? Louis drove?
Are they just a couple cool dudes? Like,
just hilarious. Dude, it was hilarious. And I wanted to hear how...
To be a fly in that car for the 2-hour ride.
Well, and that's what a lot of times when I'm doing shows other places... That's funnier than the show, man. The comics can't turn it off, and they're just ball busting and talking the whole time. I always tell people there's one show for the comics and there's one show for the audience, and that's cool. So I wanted to hear how what was going to go. They put together the lineup, and they're like, all right, well Sarah will lead off, and then he's like, Louis, do you want to, Ari would go, and then Louis, and then Joe's going to close it out, and Louis's like, dude, this is my first gig. He goes, Ari's in mid-season form. He goes, I don't want to follow him. He had just been to my place a week before with Norman, and he headlined. So he was doing 45 minutes to an hour. So, I would say not half the people. I would say there was a good 50 people that knew. So, all of a sudden they're like, you guys, please welcome Louis C.K. Dude, everyone stands on their feet, and you could see the people that didn't know. They're like, what?
It's like, fuck
dude,
yes.
We're outside. And that's when you felt the magic starting to happen. And it was just oh my God, how could I not know this? And I'm like, dude, we said special guests. Like even if it's not, like I'm not Barnum and Bailey. Like just trust me. Like obviously there's a reason. Like, why wasn't this announced? I'm like, sorry, Karen, we couldn't announce it. Like just relax.
You didn't give me a chance to come protest.
Yeah, exactly. No, they weren't. No, it wasn't even that. They were just upset that I didn't tell them it was going to be Louis C.K. And it's like I said, special.
But that's a
guest.
special treat. Like that's why it's special. It's a nice little treat.
That's what a surprise is.
Yeah.
Like.
Yeah. Just pay attention to the emails.
Could you imagine being in the car and he pulls over? He's like, "Do you guys mind if I?"
Yeah. Well,
I was holding on to that one.
But no, it's all right. But dude, when I was at Valley Forge Casino, there was this black musician, and he's got nothing but pizzazz and this swagger about him. They all came. It was their first time coming to one of my shows outside of the Valley Forge Casino, and he stood up and he goes, "What? Nah." Louis C. Okay, Joel. Okay. And I was like, hell yeah, man. It was awesome, dude. It was really fun. And yeah, that's when it started taking off. Well, then he came back 3 more times.
Oh, all right.
And the first 2 times we couldn't announce it. The last 2 times he allowed us to announce it on our email only. And let me tell you, I've never seen tickets go faster.
Yeah, I mean, he's hilarious.
400 tickets in 45 minutes.
Ooh.
Yeah. It's wild, dude.
Yeah, he's the man.
Yeah. And he didn't even like when it's funny to watch all the guys, not just him, but develop their act and then see it on their next special, and you're like, dude, he was working and he was honing it at my place, and like now it's on a special on wherever. Louis produces his own specials, but
he's the only one I've ever bought like paid for money, like when he was releasing his own stuff.
Yeah,
him and Rogan, I guess, are the only 2
on his own. Yeah. But he just went and like attacked it head on, and he goes, yeah, you hear those noises, all the insects? Yeah, you know what they're saying? Fuck me, fuck me, fuck me, fuck me. You're like, dude, hilarious.
I just saw a clip of the way he's handling it. It's just, all right, so let's talk about it. Fucking genius. Like, yeah, just make it funny. It's not a huge deal anyway, but, attack it and, like, talk about it.
Yeah.
And then keep it fucking moving, because obviously, like, I listened to him on Shane Gillis talking about the presidents. They did 4 podcasts, 4 hours long, going through all of the presidents.
Right.
Fucking hilarious. And, fairly real facts.
Right.
Yeah, I think
embellished
they were,
a little bit, but
they were in the scope of history. They weren't
Right.
just making shit up.
But I mean, both like brilliant guys, like being able to remember any of that shit.
Well, that's the thing that people don't realize is comedians, even though they're funny, they're smart, man.
Yeah.
They're very smart.
The clever ones. I
say most
appreciate
of
the clever ones.
Most of them have their college, degree, if not, higher. But it's amazing.
Yeah, and that's great. Like, you're obviously a fan, and that's kind of your occupation. But now you get to meet all the greats, and they come to your shit, and you hop on. That's like a dream come true, I would imagine. For
Oh,
you.
absolutely, man. And like having a guy like so right after Big J gets pulled off, the next day I'm talking to Jim Brewer's agent, and actually it was his manager, and he's like, all right, this is the week, this is the money, we're going through all the terms, and he goes, what happened at your place last night? I go, oh man, I'm like, everyone's talking. So but Brewer came, and he did 4 sold out shows, and just amazing. And when he came back the second time, it was like 6 months later. Well, he came in August, and then he came back in April. And when he came back in April, he was living in Northwest New Jersey, and he saw a guy who I started comedy with. I'm talking like 15 years ago, open mics. And the dad goes up to him and goes, hey man, I don't want to, bother you, but my son's friends with the guy whose venue you're going to this weekend. He goes, your son's friends with SoulJoel? He goes, I fucking love that place, man.
That's awesome.
And I'm like, dude, Brewer didn't have to say that, man.
Yeah.
Like Brewer didn't, it was
no,
really...
you're popping on. Like, we drive for a living, so all we do is listen to podcasts. That's another question I have for you. But, I mean, they've all mentioned on all of the podcasts. That's huge.
It was the 2 things like through the pandemic of like comics are, New York, LA, wherever they're from, just like, what do we do to do our thing? Like, and that's, I think for, speaking for comics, which I should, but it seems like comedy is their therapy. It's like, without that, they're like, what the fuck do I do?
Right.
And it was you and like, Bert with the drive-in shows were the
Yeah.
only two outlets for
Which,
a
I mean,
while.
honk if you're laughing.
Yeah, that's
Nah.
just wild.
It's wild.
I do love how each one of them kind of play on Royersford.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
I'm going to Royersford.
Yeah, dude.
That's pretty awesome.
And they wouldn't say it right. They would say
They mess it up, yeah.
Ford, not Ferd, and that's it's wild. Well, that's what happened with so Rich Voss came, and Voss is one of those guys where he's always self-deprecating no matter what, and so he came back, and I asked him for a video because a lot of people like it's not just a flyer, but if you make a video saying, hey, I'm gonna be at SoulJoels this Saturday, like, so dude, he's in the gym, Planet Fitness, and he goes, I'm getting ready for SoulJoels, which obviously that's the first joke. He's keeping his clothes on. It's not a Chippendale. Like getting ready at the gym for a comedy show, first joke. Then he goes, it's in Potterstown, Pennsylvania. People lost their minds. It got so many. I can't support this guy. He can't even give it a name right. Dude, I'm talking guys I've never even seen before. Then one guy that him and his wife have been coming to my shows for years. He's like, relax, you entitled. And he's like, like he's joking. That's what comedy is.
Yeah.
But it got so many, the algorithms and the comments sold out.
Oh, you get people fired up. That's how
Fired
you.
up.
That's how you get those.
But it wasn't on
views, the
purpose.
share.
Yeah.
Yeah, but like some of the stuff you're like, dude, it's like this is crazy. And he's sitting there. One of the ladies gave a bad review because she was like, his entire act seemed to rely on the room and the situation. You're like, yeah, that's Voss. Like,
and good comedy.
yeah. And I only had this like little backdrop and like the rooms, because I'm still like trying to figure it out. And like, I have to decorate. And he goes, this room's really well decorated. You're like, Joel, why'd you stop here? And he goes, this background looks like negligee. And I go, shut up, Dick. I haven't paid you yet. He goes, you don't have to. He goes, I have memories that are going to last forever. And I'm like, dude, and I just let it go. Like I'll heckle a little bit, but like, that's why he's
No, you
a
play off it.
headliner.
It's good.
Yeah. No, but he told me after the show, he goes, I didn't mind. He goes, I wanted you to keep doing that.
If anybody can, it's you. Now,
Yeah,
the
yeah,
random
yeah.
drunk asshole
Right,
me
right,
Yeah,
does
but
not want to.
I can't stand up and say something. It's
No.
Yeah.
I have nothing to add. You have something that you could
Right.
you could play off. You have that relationship with the guys.
Right. Well, and also I just because I've been a performer and like knowing that you're like, oh, I just told that joke last night in New York, and then all of a sudden they do it in Royersford or now in Pottstown, but you could just see the look on the comic's face like. I saw that going better. And it's like that's when like during a show you'll hear my laugh harder because I'm laughing at the pain or I'm laughing at different reasons knowing that like what's going on behind the scenes.
That inside track of
Yeah.
knowing like, oh, he didn't want that to go that way.
Exactly.
Did he bring Bonnie or no?
No. I mean they're she's blowing up too.
Yeah,
I mean
she got
they're
other
always
stuff going on.
I did. This is probably 14 years ago. I had it was right after Bonnie had their kid, their daughter, and she was coming back into comedy, and she headlined 2 shows for me, and she brought Rich,
Yeah,
and it was like a special drop in.
because it's like those two. I don't listen to their podcast, but they were on Skanks. And just the two of them going back and forth is classic.
Oh yeah,
And I'm glad she's back on Skanks.
yeah. And their podcast is called My Wife Hates Me.
Yeah.
it's hilarious.
What podcast do you listen to, if any? Not a big podcast guy.
No. I mean, I used to have my own podcast. I'll listen. It depends on who's on it. Like I'll if my buddies I'll listen to, Giannis's if he's got Bobby Kelly on, and I'll listen to Rogan if like some of my buddies are on. But dude,
How do you find the time for podcasts?
Yeah,
It seems,
exactly.
It seems like you're so busy all the time.
That's what it comes down to, man. Is I just don't. I don't have time. And normally when I'm in the car, I'm only in the car for like 20 minutes, and I'm just hammering out phone calls or whatever. I haven't had a chance, man. But it's yeah. But I'll listen.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have too much time.
Yeah, right. It's all I got is time.
Yeah. Well, if you're all you're doing is driving.
Yeah,
so.
that and it's like, well, I'm going to sit in the truck and listen to my own thoughts. Like, no, thank you.
Yeah,
It's-
no, thank you.
Gotta
Yeah.
distract
That's
somehow.
24/7.
Yeah. So where'd you? How do you get the name Soul Joel? Was it? Were
So
you?
it was a nickname I had from high school.
Okay.
And I used to, when I played soccer, I would dance. And I didn't, every time I scored, but I didn't score that much. So I would do, back in the 90s, it was Come On, Ride the Train. And so it just something that rhymed. They're like, why you always dancing, Soul Joel? And then I started comedy. I was 26. And when I would go to the Stress Factory at all these places, they would say, keep it going for your next comic. Joel Richards. And my last name's Richardson. It's not hard, but it's long. It's a lot of syllables. So they would mess it up. So I'm like, you know what? I got to separate myself from all these other white guys. So I'm like, I'm going to call myself Soul Joel. So I branded myself. I started getting the Soul shirts and then started Soul Joel Productions. And it became my hook of how people can remember. And it's like cool. Like, half the shows, I do 200 shows a year. Half of them are for fundraisers. So it's almost like, soul, like good for your heart. Like it's just, picked on a couple different meanings. But yeah, that's where it came from, man. Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah.
Well, I guess one of my questions was favorite comedians, but I guess too many to even narrow down.
Yeah, it's I love the comics that can that live in the moment. Like, there's certain comics that just they'll come out there and they'll just go through their act, but the ones that are like Adam Ferrara came and he's like, so at Sunnybrook there's a social house. It's like a barn, and Giannis was like, welcome to SoulJoels, where we're almost doing comedy inside. You got the dome, then you got the barn. Barn's 4 walls, but no, that's what Adam Farrar goes. We're thanks to SoulJoel, I'm now doing comedy inside a shed. just all those little stuff, and man, it just it's funny just to see them, and that's what the audience loves too, because they want to see with Royers Ford. They wanted to see how they were going to react to the train.
Oh, okay.
And
yeah.
Brewer was the first guy and the only guy that once he heard it, people started going nuts. And he was the first one, only one, that made it into a tour guide. So he goes, coming up on the right-hand side is SoulJoels Comedy Club. They went outside during the pandemic, and we're not sure when they're going back in. And you're like, you could tell, like, that was just, like, he's got such bad ADD where, like, he would do a joke about, Chinese food or whatever, and then all of a sudden, like, something would happen or someone would go to the bathroom and, like, they're not focusing on the 400 people that are laughing. They're going to focus on the one guy that's going to the bathroom. Like, why are you leaving? Like that joke. Yeah. And then he goes off for 45 minutes. And you're like, so anyway, I was eating Chinese food. And you're like, dude, you were literally talking about that 44 minutes ago. And he just comes back.
How they do it, man. It's crazy.
Yeah. No, it's a lot of fun.
What else you got, Kev? Anything?
Not. I had something, but I lost it. It was
thought was
it was just like, as you say, like comics that live in the moment. Like I just saw Big J when he was down in Center City.
Yeah.
And I don't think he had a joke prepared. He just sat down like, you and you look kind of funny, and like this is the act now. And it was great. Oh, yeah. It was awesome.
He killed me on his podcast. He goes, and if you guys don't know what we're talking about, I'm sure SoulJoel will have a publicity tour next time something happens in comedy.
Yeah.
So, because what happened was now that when he got pulled off, when Will Smith ended up slapping at the Oscars. So I went to high school with Annie McCormick, who's a reporter for Action News. So she was told by her boss to go to Helium and get someone to comment on it. And she's like, no, I went to high school with SoulJoel, so I was like, hell yeah.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Right? So as soon as she called me, I was already on my way to, it was on April Fool's Day. So I was on the way to a show in New Jersey. And I did a U-turn and freaking met her in, at the 30th Street station.
Okay.
Yeah. And did the interview, but then, and then they went and interviewed, audience members, and they interviewed Alan.
Yeah.
Yeah. Who wears the Eagles jersey.
Yeah. Yeah.
And, So Alan goes, he interviews and everything goes well. And he goes over and he goes, they did that right in time, right before the edible kicked in. And I'm like, dude, wow. But yeah, it's, yes. And then the same thing happened when Chappelle got attacked right after that. I am going in studio on Good Day Philadelphia on Fox. So, I mean, yeah, it's because and apparently the reason why it was such a big deal is, Big J's from Philadelphia, grew up in South Jersey, and apparently he turned down the interview. Ended up being Chuck Nice and I. Chuck Nice lives originally from Philly, lives in New York, And so he was on like Skype or Zoom, whatever, and then I was in studio, and but Big J's aunt saw it. I was texting, like, I saw you on Fox. He's like, Jesus, Joel. Like, it's just one of those things where he wants to forget.
Yeah.
I'm sure. Why would you want to relive something like that? That's
but
crazy.
I mean, better or worse, man, it it put us on the map, and it got a lot of the other guys that wanted to come there, and he ended up doing a show later that October, and we sold out 2 shows. It was great, and Dan Soder, I used to manage Soder, and so Soder came, and he was like, "Who did this to my sweet, sweet Jay?" And he goes, "Show yourself, come out of the woods." Yeah, it just made it like an inside joke, and you could tell most of the people knew, but some people were like, "I have no idea what you're talking about."
Yeah. I mean, that's just a crazy thing to go somewhere and attack a comedian. But
just any entertainer, you're going somewhere for entertainment.
Yeah, but
you're gonna go attack somebody. Yeah.
But I mean, like when like other comics would like reference it on stage,
yeah.
You could tell some in the audience were like, "Oh yeah, we know exactly what he's talking about." Some people were like, "I have no idea. Like, what do you?"
Not everybody's so deep.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
I guess that's one of the harder things to play off of is like there's hardcore people that listen to all of the podcasts and know all the intricacies of everybody.
Yeah.
And then there's just somebody like, I don't know, I think they're funny. I watch them once in a while.
Well, and exactly. It's not like Johnny Carson where you're like everybody was watching that show. Now it's like, dude, you got Hulu and all these streaming things and Netflix, and then all the guys got their podcasts, and it's a lot to keep up with.
But it is cool because it's really zeroed in on their audience. When these people come, they're bringing people that know them. Mm-hmm. You're not really getting so much like, I guess anybody that's close to there or like me or him would go see and try to find new people, but for the most part, they're bringing. I went to Joe Liss and Mark Norman's podcast thing, or Tuesdays with Stories, just because I like that podcast. They're funny.
Yep, exactly. No, it's fun, man. And people, it's crazy that people were calling me up going, "What airport should I fly into?" You're like, "Dude, I can't get everybody in Montgomery County." I go, "But you guys are like, you're flying from California? This is wild."
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So what's next for SoulJoel then? How far into 2023 do you have booked out?
It's funny, man. I got an agent that hit me up and booked a comic in July, and it's because he's doing this comedy festival in Pittsburgh, and then he wants to come do another show at my place. And the funny thing is, I know it's the biggest morning show, like radio show in Pittsburgh. It's WDVE, and they do every year do a festival. The reason why I even bring that up is because before the pandemic, my grandmother was one of 12 kids, and her brother's grandson is the same age as me. Dude, we didn't meet until right before the pandemic happened. Him and I graduated the same year in high school. He's the host of this morning show.
Really?
And he's a stand-up comic. Huh. And like that back then, I had a podcast, and it's like, dude, we lived parallel lives and never met, and we're third cousins. Like my grandmother and his grandfather were brother and sister.
Within driving distance, like doing the same. That's pretty crazy.
Yeah. And
so
like when Howard Stern was on the radio, like that radio, well, they were beating in Pittsburgh. Like that's like how wildly popular they are.
So he's successful too, huh?
Yeah, well.
Cool.
Yeah, well, at least one of us is.
Yeah, combined powers, man.
No, it's just it was really cool. Yeah.
All right, well, I know you both have stuff to do. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah, man.
We really appreciate it.
Follow us on Instagram at SoulJoels. Our new Facebook page, it was at SoulJoels at Sunnybrook. And then all the list of upcoming shows is on our website.
Yeah, you keep that up to date, and you keep flashing, like, because that's kind of what you got to do. You got to keep because I mean, even me, that somebody that wants to go, you got to keep reminding me when it's going to happen so I can get there.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's what try to not be too annoying.
Yeah,
but remind. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you guys. Appreciate it.
So this was another episode of the Express Lane Podcast
with Kev, Stan, and SoulJoel.
Thanks,
you.
Fellas.
Thanks.
Peace.